Welcome back to Weaponized, and episode 11 is here. It's been a pretty crazy week overall with new game releases and a lot of news that we have a ton to say about, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, bro. Like, there's so much news, dude, and it's like we've been so busy. so
I know. It's like, man, so this week, if you're not super in tune with the industry, which, let's be honest, I say that 90% of people who buy video games are fall under the category of just being, casual enjoyers of video games. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just reality. But this week was GDC in San Francisco, Game Developers Conference, and a lot of obviously developers and publishers go there. It's a huge place for indie games. Day of the Devs has a thing there. So, for me, I'm like, okay, there's a big show going on this week. It's mostly, in-person stuff. I didn't really feel like didn't really have the money to go and pay for it, right? So I
yeah,
was like, all right, we're gonna chill back. It's all right. We're Summer Game Fest stuff like that. We got that. But I expected kind of a light week, and I woke up like every day this week to like 100 emails. So it was awesome. So
yeah,
yeah, it's been a
getting
busy
nuked.
week. Yeah,
Right. It has been a busy week.
I mean,
S-
gosh, man, I want to let you talk about your Digimon stuff first before I dive into it because there's something I got to talk about that happened today. But
Yeah,
let's hear because so for Digimon fans, this pretty big week, pretty big week.
dude, it's been huge. And honestly, like, this is my opportunity to just yap on this podcast for as long as I possibly can until I run out of breath. But I'll try to keep it short and concise. So, Digimon Con happened like pretty much yesterday. So, I mean, Digimon Con has happened yesterday, and it was amazing because last year Digimon Con was terrible. I mean, we wanted to see the next Digimon story game, Time Stranger, and we had so many leaks about it, which all happened to be true, by the way. And we didn't get anything. So, Digimon Con this year was massive. I want to talk about the things that I am the most excited about. Now, I'm sorry for all the Digimon fans. I don't really keep up with the anime anymore. There's so many Digimon animes now. It's just like, oh my god. I probably will watch Beat Break, and I probably will watch the. I'll try to catch up on stuff because I know I didn't finish Ghost Game. But the main thing that I'm really excited about, of course, is the next Digimon story game, Time Stranger, because Cyber Sleuth was, I mean, both the original and Hacker's Memory. The original came out 10 years ago on the PS Vita. So while we have had, the PS4 version and, the PC and Switch complete edition, we haven't had a new Digimon story game since like Hacker's Memory. So it's been a very long time, and we've been waiting for quite a bit to get a new massive Digimon RPG because those games are huge, by the way. Digimon Survive was like their Disgaea SRPG slash visual novel game that was like 80% visual novel and 20% gameplay. Now, what I'll say is I do like visual novels. I'm a big fan of Steins Gate. But I will follow that up with Digimon Survive was just really, really boring. And I just wasn't a big fan of it. And it was really long. Like, it was supposed to be this kind of horror game-esque, it just wasn't my cup of tea. It was mature. It was a mature game. Digimon, like I said before, is a mature series. Digimon Story Time Stranger looks incredible. From what I've heard about what that game is gonna be and the things that they haven't spoken about, I'm not gonna get into it on the podcast because I don't want people to know that I know these things. But what I will say is that it's incredibly exciting. The trailer showed us some of the what I would say super moves for some of the Digimon, which have always looked awesome, especially in Cyber Sleuth. So I'm pretty excited about that. The new protagonists look dope. I'm so glad they have Suzuhito Yasuda back, and they have the original composer for Cyber Sleuth back. I mean, he's incredible. Tribe 9 had an incredible soundtrack. So I'm glad that we have kind of everybody back in the same place, making the same thing again. While they did have a 25-minute showcase for it to start off Digimon Con, it really didn't show much that I really could talk about that would be interesting for anybody that's watching the podcast, right? It's just going to be an incredible RPG. monster catching. It's not the traditional Pokemon monster catching, like in Cyber Sleuth and other Digimon story games. You're encountering Digimon, which is increasing this percentage, and inevitably when you hit 100%, you can download the Digimon, and of course that's how you get Digimon in the Digimon story games. Now, as a kid, I played Dawn and Dusk. I was in middle school and we were playing Diamond and Pearl, and we just got tired of Pokemon. We were like, dude, this is getting old. Like, when is the next Pokemon coming out? Like, so we swapped over to Digimon, and it was goated, and we loved it. And I spent 900 something hours on Dawn, and I did everything there was to do in that game. And I had no idea that was actually called Digimon Story in Japan, and it was switched to Digimon World Dawn and Dusk in the West. Now, mind you, Digimon World and Digimon Story are not the same type of game, so I have no idea why Bandai would market it like that, because it's completely false and incorrect. Cyber Sleuth, the original, was like 120 hours for me on my first playthrough. I didn't even get every single Digimon and do every single thing. Hacker's Memory was like 80 to 90 hours for me, just like a casual, do every side quest, get through the main game playthrough. So I would assume that Time Stranger would have a similar playtime. If you're a Shin Megami Tensei fan specifically, I would probably pick it up. Even if you're not a Digimon fan, I think you'll enjoy it a lot. If you're a Persona guy, you probably won't have the same feelings. I know I had Persona fans that were just like, you like Cyber Sleuth more than Persona 5? And I'm like, it's not that I like it more than Persona 5. I just don't want to, read extreme levels of exposition for hours on end. That's my biggest issue with Persona 3 Reload. Like I said, is just sitting there for hours not getting anything done. And Cyber Sleuth is just mission after mission after mission, and fight after fight after fight, and they sprinkle the dialogue and sprinkle the story in between, and that's how I feel like it should be. But mainly that and the Digimon. So I am excited about Digimon Story, obviously. I mean, Digimon Story, Cyber Sleuth, and Hacker's Memory were some of my favorite JRPGs of all time. I'm really excited about Digimon Story's Time Stranger. But I want to talk about Digimon Elysian, is what it's called. Digimon Elysian looks really dope. That's actually the Digimon trading card game, but like master duelified. So I got into the Digimon trading card game like last year with my former roommate, Jared, and it was a huge deal. It was completely different from every other TCG that I've played. Digimon feels like a nerdier franchise than all the other ones. So it's like the people who play the TCG are just even more just geekified. And for me, sitting with these people physically and playing against them physically, they're just like so, geeked out, and they're just giving me all of their just cringy energy, and that's why I liked playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Online, because I didn't have to hear people speak, oh my God, I normal summon blah, 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 and I link summon this. I just don't want to hear it. Right. So this is really disrespectful for everybody who plays TCGs, but I don't care. This is my opinion. Getting a digital version of the Digimon TCG, epic. I'm so glad that we're getting that. Now my, introverted self doesn't have to physically interact with people while I play trading card games. But, people have always invited me to Magic the Gathering, and, let's go to this come watch me play Magic the Gathering at this tournament. And, I go and I'm like, I don't really want to be here. I just don't feel like I fit in. And yeah, I'm a huge nerd, but like, I feel like there's another caliber of nerd that I just can't sit down with. And I just feel incredibly uncomfortable. So, sorry guys, just get it together. There is a culture. We all know it. It applies with Smash Brothers as well. It's one of the main reasons why, when I was playing competitive Smash, I just didn't want anything to do with like the actual, physical interaction section of Smash Brothers. Like, I just didn't want to do it. But I'm excited for Elysian. It's not that I would say that's the reason for it, but that is definitely not everybody wants to go outside, is what I'll say.
I think you just got some social anxiety, man. I don't know.
I do. And
fair.
I don't want to be
fair.
disrespectful.
I was gonna say, I think my take on it, because I definitely understand that. Like, I have some friends that are really into that stuff, and I think that there's definitely like, there's different sub communities within games, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's just a completely like tr- as someone who plays specifically trading card games, video games is probably something on the other side of the aisle and vice versa. And
Yeah.
so, it's someone that sits here and is like, "Oh, I don't know, like I don't really know that kind of stuff." It seems like foreign. I totally get it. I mean, I know at last year at Summer Game Fest, a couple friends of mine actually they had a demo at Summer Game Fest on the campus for Magic the Gathering for the Assassin's Creed or something, one of those new like collaboration sets.
Yeah.
And I had some free time, and I was hanging out with one of my buddies after we got a drink at the bar, and we go over there, and one of the guys that's there is showing us the stuff, and I'm like, dude, this is intense. Like
Oh, it's so
it's
intense.
intense. Like I definitely understand being kind of like not fearful, but kind of intimidated by
Oh
just,
yeah.
everything, because it's a lot to take in if you don't know anything about it.
Yeah, and it's like, the physical aspect of it for me is the worst part cuz I am kind of introverted. I do get along with people that I know, and I'm good at meeting new people, but like if the first time I'm interacting with you is in a competitive setting, like it's just not a good, I can play Yu-Gi-Oh and I can play other trading card games with people I already know, but as soon as I step into the ring with somebody I've never met, I'm just like, ugh, like I can't do this. That's why the digital aspect of it is so important because Duel Links was really big for a long time. And then Master Duel came out and kind of consumed that whole audience. Duel Links became very, very minute, is what I'll say.
Yeah,
It became
no,
very
that's
small.
that's fair.
It kind of
I have
cannibalized itself.
Yeah, I have to say, I know you mentioned a little earlier, the best series in the world. So I think there's so many different video game series out there. Obviously, games really started to take effect. I mean, sure, you had Atari and various other systems, but games really took off into the mainstream with the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah.
And I think really in the history of games, there's been no better series than Persona. Like Atlas can't do anything wrong. And
No.
like I think about developers that like, oh my gosh, if I have to pick one developer who has never like even made a mistake, like the fact that the review score, the Metacritic, the glorious Metacritic score is not 100 out of 100 is pathetic, and everyone who didn't give it a 10 loses credibility. That goes for every Persona game ever. Like even oh my gosh, the best ones are the spin-offs. They're the best. But no, jokes aside, man, I really have a lot to talk about here about Atlas's trademark this morning
Oh, yeah.
being Persona 4 Golden Remake, and
God.
the domain structure follows that exactly of Persona 3 Reload. When Persona 3 Reload was announced, the domain went up 3 months before, and based on talks that I've had today, not saying it's going to happen in any shape or way, but it does sound like that some people might think that this is coming before Persona 6.
Oh.
And man, oh man, do I have things to say about that. Because Atlas, how many new games have you released in the last 5 years? I can
Um
count on one hand. Metaphor,
yeah, no, it's facts.
Metaphor, SMTVV, re-release. Persona 3, re-release. Persona 5, Royal. Oh, actually, let's say this. How many games have they released that were not spin-offs of Persona 5 or remakes or remasters, right? I
Unicorn
don't. I
Overlord?
genuinely don't know. I genuinely. Yeah. Oh, well, that's Vanillaware. That's not an Atlas game.
Oh, true.
So
True. It's
for
published by
me,
Atlas, but they didn't make.
right. So I'm gonna read off. I'm gonna read it off because I have it right here pulled up because I think it's just really important. It's so exciting. So since 2020, okay, Catherine Full Body, remake, remaster, Persona 5 Royal, remaster, 13 Sentinels, Vanillaware. We're gonna skip that. Tokyo Mirage Sessions Encore, remaster. Persona 5 Strikers, spinoff. SMT3 HD remaster. SMT5 2021, brand new game. Really exciting stuff, honestly. Soul Hackers 2, it's a brand new game. Etrian Odyssey Collections, remaster. Persona 5 Tactica, P5, P3 Reload, Remake, Unicorn Overlord, Vanillaware, SMT5 Vengeance, Remaster, Metaphor. So in the last 5 years, they have released 2 games.
It's
Two.
true. That's
Two.
true.
So I just really, I don't know, man. There's a disconnect between me and the Atlas fans because I enjoyed my time. I've played Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5. I've played them all. And I've also played other Atlas games, but I'm not going to get into that. But so we're talking about Persona here, right?
Of course.
Persona 5, great game. It is not the greatest game of all time. I don't care. There are problems with it. You're just ignoring them, whatever. Persona 4 Golden, I think, is probably the strongest Persona game out of all 3. Granted,
I agree.
It has the strongest elements of them. Now, I think P5R specifically did a lot of stuff better than P4G, but overall, P4G is the best experience. And don't even get me started on P3 Reload. I put up with that game. I literally wanted to pull each individual strand of my hair out one by one for a month. I wasted 2 weeks of my summer trying to get through that slog of a game. I put it off. After Christmas, I got back, I finished it, and I'm like, wow, there's a quarter of a good game here. So I'm sorry,
Crazy.
I'm not even a hater, but the Tartarus system is so dumb. But point being, guys, we have to talk about it because where is Persona 6? Like, if I'm an Atlas fan right now, I don't know how, and I think it's just because people are just happy to buy anything that has the Atlas name on it, right? This is not to discredit any of the developers there, but oh my God, like they have not released but 2 games since 2020. Like 2 new games, or 3. I'm sorry. I'm Soul Hackers, Metaphor, and what was the other one? Something. I don't know. Who knows? Oh, SMT5. So they've released 3 games since 2020.
And Soul Hackers 2 was not
right. It was not good. So I just want to know, like, I'm genuinely curious on your thoughts on this because for me to find out today that potentially P6 is being pushed back to have Persona 4 Golden Remake or Persona 4 Remake, I'm like, are we serious? That game is on every system. Why?
Yeah.
Like, why? What is the
They always
point?
got to modernize everything. Everything has to be modernized. Everything has to have new voice actors. It's just their
but it's not
strategy
even
to
that,
make
bro.
more money off of something they've already done.
Oh, 100%. It is a strategy to make more money. But whose fault is that? It's the consumers for buying
Exactly.
every time.
Exactly.
Every time.
You're
And
in
it's
my
like-
mind right now.
Yeah. And it's just like, I just sit here and I'm like, Persona 4 Remake, look, it does not need a remake. Will I buy it? Yes, in 2 months because Sega games go on sale for $40 off in 2 months. So I'll buy it at $30 or whatever.
They do.
But I just sit here and I'm like, I don't know how if you're an Atlas fan, you are sitting here with the biggest grin on your face, smiling and excited. Like I genuinely don't. Because you people, I mean, dude, let's be serious for a second. Laughably, people were expecting Persona 3 Reload to be nominated for Game of the Year last year.
No, that's nuts.
Laughably. And I'm like, if you are treating these remakes as if they're just, it's like, it's exactly like this. What if, like, okay, what's the greatest game of all time, in your opinion? Just go.
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time. It's like Nintendo released a remake of Ocarina of Time for every single console since the N64. Oh, it's Game of the Year. It's getting, like, no. And I guarantee you, by the way, an Ocarina of Time remake will happen at some point, but that's going to be
They
it.
had the 3DS one, but
That's
I
gonna
know
be
they're
it.
going to do it again. There's no way they're not going to do it again.
Because
you
people
know.
will buy it. And it's like, I don't know, man. I just, and again, I'm not trying to sit here and look, like, yes, there's games of Atlases that I'm not as big of a fan of, but again, everything is subjective. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. I'm not going to sit here and say that Atlas is trash or this or that. I would never say that about a company. However, I am going to sit here and say that it's crazy to me that so many people, when this gets announced, are just going to be through the roof and like throw out, oh, it's okay. And by the time this comes out, I'll be honest, I would be stunned if it came out this year. It's definitely coming out next year at this rate. Like, what if Persona 6 doesn't come out this year? I'm genuinely curious because if it doesn't come out this year, it's not coming out next year with Persona 4 Remake, right? Like that wouldn't make any sense. So I'm like, are you guys really okay waiting? And also, next year is 10 years, I believe, since Persona 5. So
Yeah.
are you guys really okay waiting 10 years between releases. And Square Enix has the same problem with Final Fantasy. The fact that it took 7 years. Now, granted, unique position compared to Atlas because they committed to a 3-game remake of 1 game, right? So unique situation. But we went 7 years between 16 and 15, or 15 and 16. And to be honest, I've already said my piece on this. I want Final Fantasy 17 to be done by Team Asano and go back to go turn-based HD 2D gorgeous game.
That'd be nuts.
It's not going to happen. It won't
obviously
happen
it won't
because,
happen.
Of course. But that's what they should do. But they're not going to do that most likely, and we're going to have to end up waiting another 5 to 6 years before we even see a look at 17. Because
it sucks.
What team's going to do it? I don't want Yoshi P doing it. I'm sorry, I don't. And I want Hamaguchi. I would like Hamaguchi to do it. But Hamaguchi's tied up till 2027. Like, who's going to do it, So I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, like, what are your thoughts on this Persona 4 remake situation? Because I'm sitting here, like, trying not to lose my mind over this.
Oh, I know. It's okay, man. I get it. Persona 4 remake is just not necessary in the same way that Persona 3 Reload was not necessary. It's a way for them to not only modernize their games, but capitalize on the consumerism and the obsession with the franchise, right? It's the same thing that Final Fantasy does, but I think that there's something to be said about FF7 because FF7 is so old. And, there's a creative, the creators and the people who participated in the original game had a greater vision for it that they could not carry out on the PS1. Right. When the PS2 came out, there was, so much more you could do with that console. But go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, 7 Remake goes well beyond a remake.
Of course.
A remake. There was no voice acting. It was literal polygons. So much graphically was not even possible at the time. This is the type of game where a remake makes sense. A remake does not make sense of a PS2 game that has received a remasters and is available on every console.
No, it's true. And, we could say this to Sony all day long, who remasters everything.
Days Gone.
Yeah, not only just, exactly. I played Days Gone a few days ago, and I just want to take that day back.
Dude, I'm just so excited. Last of Us Part 2 remastered PC, Days Gone remastered.
Oh my God, remastered.
Honestly, I'm really hoping personally we get God of War Ragnarok remastered because I just feel like it's too old at this point,
It's so crusty.
Remastered. Yeah.
We need a remaster of every game. Every game needs a remaster. In fact, Horizon and The Last of Us 1. No, The Last of Us 1 remaster looks
that's
great.
what the remake
That
needs a
looks great.
remaster. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
100%.
we need a remaster of the remake because there's a few more textures that we need to polish.
100%. And then because that's kind of the plan for Naughty Dog is Intergalactic is happening, right? But we're actually getting The Last of Us Part 1 remastered coming up soon, and then The Last of Us Part 2 remake is coming up as well.
Yeah, we need
that's going to take us to 2030. But that's the sad part about it for Sony, and it's genuinely sad, is that they've said that the only reason that they can make the games like the God of Wars, the Spider-Mans, and all these games that they make is because they have to release remasters because these games are so ridiculously expensive.
Yep, it's
That's
the
the
budget,
only reason.
and
I
they're
get it,
spending so much money on
remasters are an easy way for companies to make money and sit back and be like, all right, like, yeah, we have some steady inflow. Now we can invest this into another project. I totally get it. But I think with the Atlas situation in particular, the fact that they have released 3 new games since 2020 is insane.
No,
I get it. And I get it. Like, look, and I get it. Like, yes, they're not as big of a, I might be wrong on this, but I don't think I am. They're not as big of a studio in terms of the amount of developers as Square Enix, nowhere near. So
of course
I understand that like they're not going to have as consistent of releases, but it's just really hard to ignore that when you have like 20 remasters and remakes and 3 new games in like 5 years.
Yeah, it's it's ridiculous. And Persona 4 is probably my favorite of the Persona games. I feel like it gets me into the mix the quickest. Where Persona 3 is like, oh my God, when am I going to get into the mix? Persona 5, I would say, is in the middle of those two.
Yeah.
But Persona 4 just doesn't need a remake. And I think this is just the culture nowadays, and Atlas is kind of spearheading it in Japan. How can we? By the way, this is something that Pokemon rarely does, and obviously they've done it. Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. They've done these remakes and remasters before. It's in their culture. They've been doing it since Fire Red, Leaf Green, right? But do I think that there's a purpose for it? No, I don't. I think the purpose is to modernize the game, make it pretty. Hey, we have pretty video games. We can make pretty video games, guys. It's the thing that Square Enix, kind of built their whole brand around in the early 2000s. How, and even in the late 90s, how can we flex on all of our ops? How can we destroy our adversaries graphically? How can we show the world that we have the most talent, the most swag, the most, just our graphical fidelity is the best. And the problem with Atlas is that they just don't have that. Persona 5 Royal is just not that good looking. And Persona 3 Reload, yeah, it looks better, but it doesn't look that good. It doesn't.
It looks good, dude. I won't. It looks good. I mean, I played it for
looks
91
good, yeah.
hours. I got the platinum.
For
the
an
ray
anime
tracing
game,
looks
sure.
Great. The ray tracing looks great.
It looks great, but there's not a lot that they really need to render.
No.
And Metaphor, I mean, I don't know how that game ended up looking like that. I feel like that's like a case of like the Pokemon with Metaphor. There are times in Metaphor where I'm looking at it and I'm like, what is going on with this building? My friend who is the biggest Persona 5 fan of all time, just glazing the Metacritic score every single day, just being stupid. But the Metacritic score of these games, just makes people just foam at the mouth. Like, oh my God, this game is better than your game because the Metacritic score is 97 and your game's a 96.
I can't even begin. I can't even begin to talk about aggregate scores. And it's funny because I think a lot of people assume that like the entire industry is like, oh my gosh, yes, Metacritic, oh my gosh. Like, no, I despise Metacritic. And you can be like, well, that's because you're not on it. I don't care. I quite frankly don't care. It has nothing to do with Metacritic. It's the concept of Metacritic and OpenCritic. And we are on OpenCritic. Yes. My problem with both of these is aggregate scores. The fact that aggregate scores now on social media represent the standing and quality of a game is so stupid. Because what did I say at the beginning? Everyone has an opinion. Everything is subjective, and everyone's going to like different things. Like the amount of people online today that I see, like, I remember when I put out my Emio review, it was my Emio review. I got emails from people being like, this game was trash. I can't believe you gave this a 9 out of 10. And I simply responded like, it was my opinion. That's my review. You have your own thoughts. If you want to write a review of it and share your own thoughts, go ahead. But that's my opinion. Like, I think it's so funny that people get so obsessed over the numbers and all this stuff. And it's like the craziest thing too that no one talks about. And maybe you know this. I mean, I don't know if you even know this stuff. They actually have custom weighting on Metacritic for every site. So if you're IGN, your score matters more than, let's say, I don't know, just pick an outlet, right? Pick an outlet that's smaller. And they have different scores for every single outlet that are weighted differently. And so, like, it's
I had no idea.
It's not even accurate. Yeah, no. Oh, dude, hold on. I'll go all into it. So Metacritic. So I will tell you right now. I will not say who, and I don't really care if I get in trouble for saying this because it doesn't matter. There are publishers in this industry that will not work with outlets or creators unless you are on Metacritic. You have to be on Metacritic, or else they won't work with you. And that's fine. I'm not going to comment any further on that. I will say that we cover everything in the industry. There is absolutely stuff that we cover that falls under that branch of companies that even will refuse to respond to an email. Right? That's just reality. That's life for press, and it is what it is. But in terms of the Metacritic score, yeah, every site is weighted differently. They have different weights. So, like, for example, if you're a smaller site that gets accepted into Metacritic, you're likely not getting as big of a weight. And they will tell you, they will act like, I know people act like that this doesn't exist. It exists. And OpenCritic has the same thing. They are weighted depending on who you are and how important you are in their eyes, right? So
Yeah.
in OpenCritic is even more crazy because on OpenCritic, you know that score that displays, if you are not considered a top critic, quote unquote, by OpenCritic, your review score doesn't even go to that score. So they have like, let's say, 100 outlets review a game. There's probably only, 50 of those are top critics. So only 50 scores are actually going into the score. The rest don't count. So
Yeah, it's whack.
just
That's
something
whack.
that you should be thinking about when you look at this stuff. It is very skewed. And I'm so sorry if you get mad or you get like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Like, that's crazy. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, it's definitely fine. Like, oh my gosh, the game got great reviews. A lot of people said some really cool things. That's great. Be excited. But if you're using reviews as a purchase decision, that's great. But I encourage you to not simply look at the score and be like, oh, okay, so the score is a 78, so this game's trash. And that's the other thing. The fact that people nowadays are like, oh my gosh, anything under an 88 is not good. It's like, dude, the fact of the matter is that games over the last 10 years have been on this just huge exponential slope of quality to the point that most people don't release bad games anymore because of good QA, right? And
Right.
we're at the point now where the average score is like a 7, which a 7 is good. A 7 is good. And I'm so sorry if you're sitting back and being like, wow, God, anything under an 85 is unplayable. Like, you've got it wrong. You've got it wrong. Because
Oh, dude, yeah.
I'm
No,
telling you,
I
like 90%
literally,
of these games, man, it's crazy.
bro, I literally have a friend, the same friend that I didn't finish my point on about Persona 5. I have that same dude. I love him very much, but he feels that way. If it does not have above like an 89, he's probably not going to even play it.
Which is
Like
crazy.
it's crazy. And his Steam list is so small because of this. It's insane. It's
My
like,
second favorite game has an 83. My second favorite game of all time has an 83 on
what game
Metacritic.
is that?
Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Wow. That's wild. And you know what? I don't feel like it's a good metric, like
No, it's
it,
not.
it I feel like there is some weight in the score, and I do feel like the score does represent something, but I do not feel like it should be the end all be all of the community, the
No.
perception about that game. Because honestly, there are games that have incredibly high scores that I do not like at all. And it's like, it's crazy. And it's not that I think the games are bad, it's just that I can't get into them. There's just something about them that I can't get into. What did Reload have? An 88, an 89, and an
I mean,
89, whatever?
I was literally gonna say, like for me, because I just actually reviewed this game, right? Monster Hunter Wilds got an
Yeah.
89 on Metacritic, and numerous reviews were on PC. Oh, it's perfect performance, this that. We all know that wasn't true.
Yeah,
And so
super
people
cap.
use this as the end all be all, like you said, and it's like, yeah, like I said, if you want to use this as a way to help guide your purchase decision, that's great, and that's what the companies. That's why they send press codes is to, hey, write a review, tell us what you think, and this serves as a recommendation or a not recommendation for our games, and it helps us out to get visibility, right? That's the whole purpose of it. The purpose is not, hey, look, let me flaunt this score. Oh, my game's better than yours. Because at the end of the day, I mean, there have been so many games that people didn't like at launch that come back around and people are like, oh, wow, it's great. And I'm not, and the scores don't matter because different people review different games. IGN reviewing X game doesn't mean that IGN gave it that score. It's whoever reviewed it for IGN gave it that score for the website, right? People, you have to separate the reviewer from the website because people act like, how did IGN give Concord a 7 and give this game a 6? It's like, no, well, they're different reviewers.
Oh, they
But
can't even do that, dude. They're like, oh my God, this is
it's
all the same
crazy.
dude. Like this big, multi-billion,
Yeah,
multiple
like
$1 million
IGN is
company
like
has
they have
one
like
dude
400
reviewing everything.
million monthly users. Like
Yeah.
IGN is not one person, I'm sorry. It's hundreds of people. Like
People can't even fathom that that's not one person. Like, I think that's ridiculous. Like,
it's
bro, remember
crazy.
when y'all gave this game like this score like a billion years ago, like Sonic fans, when they were like, when
Yeah.
IGN had tweeted, hey, Sonic Unleashed is a very highly rated and like highly, loved game. And they're like, remember IGN when you gave this game like a freaking 4 or whatever the score? I don't even remember what the score was, but they're like, remember when you
Yeah.
hated on this game? I'm like, dude, guys,
I also think
that
it's
was
crazy.
that person probably doesn't even work for IGN anymore. Number one.
No, exactly. And it could have also, like nowadays, a lot of the people writing reviews for IGN, I would say 80% of the time, as someone who does work there, like 80% of the time, a freelancer is writing the review.
Right.
But that's not someone, that's not a staff employee. That's not someone that works for IGN. Like it's a contractor. It's a 1099 freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
But I was gonna say, like with, we talk about, review scores being subjective. So you can look at Metacritic, and if that's your end all be all, like Xenoblade Chronicles X, which just released this week, that got an 84 on Wii U. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And one of the big reasons, simply put, was people wanted the story narrative driven game like Xenoblade 1. And that was, X is the opposite. It's totally focused on exploration. And most of the story is actually done through, side quests and stuff like that. And that's how you kind of get this world building. And, Xenoblade X Definitive Edition came out today, and you see an 88 Metacritic score. And it's funny because you look at that and it's like, okay, what did they do? They tweaked some stuff. Yes, 100%. Like they've made a lot of good quality of life changes, but 4 points is a lot. And you look at the fact of the matter is, perception at the time of release is kind of the reason that game scored the way it did at that time versus now. And
Yeah.
again, different people. I mean, that's the reality. These scores don't matter. I'm sorry, they don't. Like, if you're going to be a Metacritic warrior, my game got an 89, 91 predictions. It's like, dude, if you want to have fun predicting stuff, go right ahead. But this should not be, the badge that you sew, the medal that you wear for the game. Like, I'm sorry. It just shouldn't be. And I say this as someone in press. I'm sorry. It just shouldn't be. The obsession is super weird. It's honestly super weird.
Yeah. People love to use other people's opinions as a way to defend their own perception of something, or even create their own perception of something. Cardi had released this album, and I literally had people going, hey man, this album is terrible. I hate it. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then they're like, hey, just wait for Fantano's review so that I can synchronize my opinion with this reviewer and basically prove my point that the album is bad. I'm like, okay, but while I do respect his opinion, and I think he's a great reviewer who has a lot of, tenure and listening to a lot of music, he's a very multifaceted reviewer. I don't think that he is the end all be all of opinion. And I don't think music is objective, right? Especially, and mind you, I'm going to say something really controversial. He reviewed Jaden Smith's Sire and Iris, right? Those albums I listened to for years on end, right? Years on end. He gave both of those albums a 2 out of 10. And he's the most respected music reviewer of all time, right? And I respect his opinion. But that's not going to deter me from listening to that music because I like the specific thing that Jaden Smith was going for on those albums. I'm sorry. I genuinely do. I synchronize with it, right? And then there's albums that I like GNX or Damn from Kendrick Lamar, right? Where I'm like, okay, well, I agree with the 7 out of 10, there's a few songs on Damn that I don't like, right? But you're not always going to agree with the reviewer. And really, you should be reading the reviews and not just looking at the aggregation. Because the aggregation is not
100%.
telling you anything, especially when certain outlets, especially IGN, are getting weighed more over other outlets. Read what people have to say. I do think it is important to look at reviews to basically get other people's opinion on something so that you can make a determination on whether you should buy a game or not. But at the end of the day, and I said this in a video that's coming up tomorrow, right? Tomorrow as in I'm recording this on Thursday. It'll be out on Friday, so it's already out by the time you guys see this episode. What I said is the consumers, this is the general point. We, the consumers, are responsible for whether or not a studio continues to do something, right? So if we support, say we supported Scarlet and Violet, right? And Scarlet and Violet was a massive game and, it had 26 million something sales, right? You guys know that game is not optimized, that game, the frame rate is so bad that it basically is responsible halfway for destroying the speedrunning community for that game, because the game takes so much time to get through the motion of it, that people just don't want to play it, right? People not only bought that game in droves in the first week, they didn't even care what people thought about it. We already knew the game was laggy, people bought it anyway. Oh, the DLCs come out, people bought those anyway, right? Billions of dollars that the Pokemon company made off that game, and people think it's all going to get better in the future. But here's the thing, and this applies for every video game, right? If you go out and you buy Assassin's Creed Shadows, right? And the game is good or bad, right? I have no idea. I know that it got like an 83 on Metacritic, right? But regardless, if it's a bad game, right? And it's a bad game and everybody says it's a bad game, and, like I said before, and like Noah said earlier, you can't base your opinion of a game, preemptively off of aggregations. You have to look at what people are actually saying. So say you go out and you look at what people are actually saying, and people that you respect their opinions and you synchronize with what they like and dislike, right? And they say they don't like the game or there's something wrong with the game. And you go out and you buy it anyway. Or you hate buy something, or you hate watch something, right? Oh, I'm going to go hate watch this movie that everybody says is bad. Let me go hate watch Borderlands, right? Imagine if Borderlands was extremely successful, but it was like a 2 out of 10, right? Even less. What would stop the studio from making another one? Look at Venom. Venom had an entire trilogy, and I think those movies are garbaggio, right? But it's because people supported them. We knew they were going to be butt cheeks, right? And that's the same thing with Morbius. Morbius was a huge failure.
It's the same thing that's going to happen with the Minecraft movie, because
facts.
Dude,
they're gonna go watch
on TikTok is just going chicken jockey, and it's like,
chicken
dude,
jockey.
You're gonna get people to go watch it as a joke, and then it's because it's like, I don't know. I totally agree though. It's like, if you're buying into it, like, you can't be mad about the results that happen because of it.
If they're making things, if they're making sequels to the thing that you didn't like, and you bought the thing before, knowing that the thing before was bad before you bought it, you are partially responsible. There's a collective purchase that's happening. When we all buy a game, we are pretty much adding to the big Goku spirit bomb of the next project, right? If we don't purchase it, and I'm not saying boycott everything, right? Somebody's going to buy it whether or not, you do, but that doesn't mean that you have to participate in it. And everybody thinks this way. Everybody does. Hey, I might as well just buy it because everybody else is going to buy it anyway. It's like, sure, but everybody else thinks the exact same thinks the exact same thing that you just thought. Hey, I'm going to buy it because everybody else buys it, right? What if you all stopped buying it? What if we all thought differently and we just said, hey, let's not buy this terrible thing? Because the reality is these studios are going to keep producing the bad. It doesn't matter what the reviews are. Most of these people don't care about the quality of the product. Most of these companies don't care about what you say about what they've made. After you've made that purchase and you've given them all your money, right? Oh, Destiny, for instance, right? Spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on silver, right? Or just microtransactions. Oh my God, I can't believe that they're, that they haven't turned this game off yet. I can't believe that this DLC was so bad. Well, you guys kept buying them. And they were bad. And you kept buying more and more. And you kept buying the deluxe edition. And you kept buying the season passes and kept spending money on silver. And you're wondering why, they're continuing to put out slop. It's because you keep buying it and you keep supporting it. Of course, it's going to be bad. You didn't punish them when it was good. You didn't punish them when it was bad. You're supposed to punish them when it's bad and support them when it's good. You speak with your money. At the end of the day, whatever you say about it is irrelevant. If you hated Lightfall and you bought the final shape, like, by the way, the final shape, that was the nail in the coffin for that game. I mean, sure, they're still making content, but I don't think that game's ever going to be able to pick itself up from where it is now, right? Because the final shape was a huge failure in comparison to the previous DLC, because Soul, right, did not buy it. He is one of the people that said, hey, I'm not buying this because the last expansion was dog water, right? It was dog water, and I'm not buying the next thing. But it's like, there was a lot of people who said, hey, this is the final expansion. I have to buy it because I want to see this game, I want to see the game to the end. That's what I did. I was like, I got to buy it because my friend's buying it, and we got to see this game to the end. But we participated in the overall, lifespan of the game that was being ran by a CEO and that was purchasing hundreds of cars for himself, allegedly, with all the money that he was making from the microtransactions, that it feels like none of it really went into the game. Now, obviously, the game's making way more money than a singular person can spend. But at the end of the day, he didn't really care about what we thought about the game. As long as we're spending billions of collective dollars on it, we're consuming it, and they're going to keep making it. So, we got to support the studios that deserve the support. Let's stop hating on these indie games, for real. Because indies like Hollow Knight and, Hades,
dude, I'm
these
not
are
even talking
really
about
good
the
games.
big ones, bro. I'm talking about the small ones that no one's ever heard about. It's like, if you see something that looks cool on Steam and it maybe even only has like a couple hundred reviews, like, buy it. Because half the time, like, let's be real, and I'm not saying this as like a negative thing, but a lot of these indie games are not full price. They're not full price games, and that's a good thing for being able to afford them, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, yeah, like, look, you see something, you play a game, and you really like it, leave a review. That's the best thing you can do on Steam. Even if it's 2 sentences, it helps the developers. I mean, I look at games like Mouthwashing from last year, like, basically took off the like cult classic love from people. And like, no one, I mean, I didn't see anyone talking about it before release. We actually reviewed it before release.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anyone talking about it before release. And then people started playing the game, leaving reviews, and it just spread all over the world.
That game blew up. Yeah, that game was huge.
And that's great. Like, I love to see that. But it's like, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, that only happened because people made the effort to leave reviews and stuff like that.
Yeah. And, nowadays you see all these like games that are like clones of Lethal Company and Among Us, you have Repo, and you had content warning. Those were clones of Lethal Company. And you have clones of Among Us, like you have Lockdown Protocol, the clone of Among Us. By the way, that game looks great. I want to play it. I haven't picked it up. The Death Note game was apparently really good, Killer Within. But, you have indie games that are cloning other indie games, and, those games are blowing up. But, I mean, they're still not charging $60 to $70. I would go support them. If you're interested, go support the game. If we start supporting indies more than we're supporting these AAAs, like, companies are going to change their formula. They are. If people start, gravitating towards, cheaper, more passionate projects, I feel like everybody just wants to play Call of Duty. They want to play games like Call of Duty and Fortnite, and I just don't care. I mean, Call of Duty's cool. There's something, that you'll never be able to get from some of these indies, and it's that, your normie friends are always going to be picking up the next COD. So if you want to play with them, you got to buy it. You got to spend 70 something bucks plus whatever the expansion or whatever, the skins are going to cost. And inevitably those games are always going to exist, and it is what it is. But, we got to start putting our money where our mouth is and actually punishing the studios that think that they can get away with just making slop every year.
It's not even punishing. It's just simply like, just putting our hands up and saying no. Like, that's the way I look at it. Because it's like, that's what we should be doing. It shouldn't be about like, oh, screw this company, screw that. It should just be like, look, like, I don't enjoy the fact that, like, every year the only thing I get to look forward to is re-releases. Like, then okay, like, we want to make it heard. And the only way that people, business as a whole, money talks. I mean, that's reality.
It's facts. And Madden and 2K and games like that. Madden and 2K, those are the perfect examples of like games that people buy every single year and get mad at. Like, oh my God, I hate this thing about this game. Like, they got to change it. And it's
And
like
they'll
they
be
buy
there
the
day
next
one
one
for
and
the
the next
next
one.
one.
Always. They are never not there. I've never
Trust
met
me,
like a 2K
being
fan that just doesn't play the
being
next one.
oh my gosh. I think my entire pledge class bought Madden. Like we had a little Madden league going on a couple years ago, and I remember that those guys literally were sitting back being like, "Oh my gosh, I can't stand this game." And then all of them bought it. It's like insane. But yeah, dude, it's an interesting time, I think, again, just, making sure that, if you don't like something, don't buy it, I guess. But I kind of want to transition a little bit to a little fun game called Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. If you are a viewer on the channel, you'll know that I am just unbelievably excited for this game. If the videos weren't enough to tell, but yeah, I mean, we have so much talking on the video side. We have so much planned. Like seriously, I barely am sleeping, but it's gonna be so worth it because we have so many cool ideas coming up. But on the game, so by now, if you're buying the game, you probably got your hands on it. Just kind of for my first impressions, I've been working on my review for a bit now, but my first impressions really, I was really impressed with the visual clarity behind it. I think that the game looks unbelievable on the Switch, and I think it's probably the best looking Xenoblade game by far. I've been using a Nintendo Switch OLED model with mine, and the environments just look insane. Like I'm really honestly stunned because we say this every time, like Monolith Soft or Wizards, right? And they are, but it's like, man, I really am legitimately stunned at how good this game looks in handheld mode because I thought Xenoblade 3 for what it was looked pretty dang good, but this just looks next level. Like it really does. And it's one of those things I'm super excited to continue pushing further. I've got about a lot of hours that I'm not willing to admit at this point, but I'm really, really excited to hopefully see fan reactions. And of course, if you're not sure if you're going to pick it up or not, my best sell on the game is it is like the biggest open world you'll ever see. You can go literally anywhere. But if you want a more detailed analysis of what to expect, be sure to stay tuned for my review, which will probably be over an hour. So,
Yeah. Of course it will. It
of
always
course it
is.
will. I mean, you could pretty much tell. It's like, yeah, I put obviously a ton of my reviews are always so long, and just I feel like I have to put all of my thoughts into it and address every area I can. But you get some of these series like Final Fantasy and Xenoblade that I'm just huge fan of. That's when it really starts to get like, all right, dude, I just sat through an hour-long review for Rebirth. But it happens.
Hey, it happens, You definitely grind those out. So, I mean, people should definitely go watch Beyond the Conduit if they're interested in anything Xenoblade specifically.
Yeah, man. I was
X.
saying like we've got a lot of stuff coming up. I mean, there's like 6 episodes right now in the works as of today for the next couple weeks. So
Yeah,
definitely be
it's
excited.
insane.
It's getting crazy here, but hey, we got to deliver, and whatever the heck they put in the new story content is gonna get broken down. So
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't really gotten into Xenoblade like that. So, I mean,
it's your
one day
loss.
I'll jump into it and you'll be like up my neck. I remember when 2 was the game that was out and you were just like, bro, you got to play this. Please, 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 please play it. And I just fall off games so quick. I actually played like 20 hours of it. And then I think I just like got busy and then I forgot to pick it back up. It happens, dude. I buy a whole game and just forget to pick it back up. It's
No, I get it.
pretty
I get it for
often.
sure. I mean, I always tell people, so, I'll say, a video that I'm in the works of making right now is kind of like a play order because the beauty of the Xenoblade series is that you can really start anywhere, but I highly encourage people to play it like 1, 2, 3x just because, like, let's be real, there's definitely connections. But I will say, I really do think that, like, now granted, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth are incredible. I really enjoyed 16 for what it was, taking the idea that it was, this RPG out of my mind. I really enjoyed it. Um, But I think,
Yeah.
but I think that Xenoblade is really like right now in the industry. You can point to Persona 2. I mean, Xenoblade doesn't have the sales of Persona, but it is the series, in my opinion, that is just doing the stuff that Final Fantasy did in the 90s. And
Yeah.
it's the most
That's
exciting series
huge.
for me. It really is. I mean, it's great, man. And I mean, I've put in like,
You
600
know, like if
hours
you
into
were a
two.
salesman for this
Yeah.
game, that is exactly what you would say.
I'm not a salesman whatsoever, but I will say I am in
You
deep.
should be a salesman. You know
No,
what?
I'm not gonna be
Like,
a salesman. All my videos, I have no bias at all. The videos that I make, obviously, I just share for my love of the series. My review, of course, I review everything objectively. I would not be in my position if I didn't. But
oh,
it's just
okay.
one of those things, man. It's like I really am excited for the future of it. I think that the fact it's been so successful on Nintendo Switch is so telling of the future. And I mean, hey man, we've only got a couple weeks till that Switch 2 presentation, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'd be surprised if we don't get a look at Monolith's next game there,
Yeah, I'm geeked about that, dude. I cannot wait. I
dude.
cannot wait, dude.
I am like, man,
They gotta
it's
add achievements, bro. I don't know how Soul
yes. Oh,
can
dude,
play all these games and not get any achievements.
Payne and I spent like 30 minutes on Switch Point this week talking about the fact that Nintendo needs to add freaking achievements. And we were like, instead of a platinum trophy, they're going to have to do like the star from Mario, like the rainbow star,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But I'm like, they need achievements. I'm like, I have almost 80 platinums on PlayStation. I actually this weekend just happened to play the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga. I finally got through that collection, got the platinum. So I'm on like 79 now. And I'm like, dude, Nintendo, like, oh my gosh, please just make achievements. Like, I need it so bad.
You're
I need
making
it
me
so
think
bad.
about like Smash Brothers, by the way, and
Dude,
how like
I know, bro.
Pikachu
Like, can
and
you imagine?
Sephiroth and Sora and all
Oh,
these
but it
people
would be
can
so
interact.
bad. It would be so bad, dude, because think about it. They're going to be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is the problem, right? And I'm not saying it's a problem because I enjoy it, but like think those games like Smash Brothers and these really technical, I would say, Nintendo games. They're going to be like, okay, yeah, perform a counter as Joker or deflect 3 projectiles at the same time as Joker in an online match or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, oh my
That's gonna
gosh,
be an
like that's
achievement.
yeah, it would be crazy hard. So I'm like, honestly though, man, honestly, I just am looking forward to it. I really hope they do it. I think it takes 2 seconds of effort on their part, on Nintendo's part, and it's like, man, just do it, please. It gives me an incentive to play your games for,
On
I
that
mean,
platform, yeah.
for
Like,
forever. I mean, dude, I have, and I'm not even kidding saying this. I have like almost 600 or 700 hours in Xenoblade 2. I have like 300 in Xenoblade 1. I have 400 in Xenoblade 3. Like X, I'm probably gonna have another 200. Like, oh my gosh, give me achievements and I'd probably have 1,000.
yeah,
Like,
Nintendo doesn't understand that we want to flex.
oh,
Like, if
100%.
I'm looking at somebody else's account and I see 700 hours, I assume they've done everything, but some people just sit there with the game on. So how can I know?
Dude,
You know?
that is real. I have a friend. Oh my gosh, I have a friend who has like 7,000 hours in Fortnite and in Genshin. I'm like, yeah, dude, sure you do. Like,
Yeah, it's just he's just leaving that thing on.
of course he is. I'm like, yeah, no. I just am. Oh man, the achievements thing, and I get it. Like, there's people out there that like think that achievements are stressful or just don't care about them, and that's fine. But I'm telling you, for the hardcore audience, like you want some retention on your platform, you want your game. I put in like 150 hours in Super Mario Odyssey to 100% the game, right?
Yeah.
I would have done that with achievements, and I probably would have taken even more time because it would have had more unique things. It's like, oh my gosh, man, just give me those
Yeah,
achievements.
achievements give you things to do that are not base like because it gives you more playtime. You get more
Yes.
playtime out of like the
I
achievements because
want
the
to go
achievements
explore
can be
the world.
unique. Yes.
It's just, I just don't think I don't think they're gonna do it. I'll be shocked if they do it. I really am, and I'm sad to say that, but I just on the list of Nintendo priorities, I just have a good feeling that is not near the top.
Yeah. You know, if everybody boycotted everything, we would probably have themes on the PlayStation.
You and your boycotts, man. You really.
What if we were just like, we're not buying a PlayStation 5 if you take these themes away?
You are really trying to make every episode of Weaponized, we're boycotting something different, man.
I'm like, telling you, it's just been in my brain. I'm becoming really progressive.
I get it, dude. But I'm like, yeah, I just, brother, I'm sitting here like, look, man.
I'm not boycotting the Switch 2. I'm exaggerating, but
I mean, dude, the Switch 2 is going to be the biggest launch ever.
Oh, I know. Imagine how much it would change. If we really, really actually weren't, slaves to all these games coming out. If we were just like, hey, I'm not going to buy that until it's on sale. But, everybody has to pre-order everything. So the Nintendo Switch 2 does need achievements. Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I was just going to say, like, I really don't pre-order many games anymore. I used to, like, years ago, and really only like Nintendo games for the most part, which, to be fair, Nintendo always made, most of the time their games always have a high level of quality, so I don't have to worry about it. This is true.
But Pokemon is not made by Nintendo. So
no, well, and I can give you examples of games like oh my gosh. I mean, I reviewed it. I didn't purchase a copy myself, but it was provided by Nintendo. But Donkey Kong Country Returns HD.
Oh man.
No, I love that game. I love Donkey Kong Country.
Of course.
But oh my god. Literally, dude, I don't know what the heck happened. The remaster, they took after the 3DS port, and that 3DS port has an issue to where, like, let's say you and I are playing together. If we're playing and you jump on an enemy, I can't jump on the same enemy behind you. So I just fall and die. And they didn't fix it, and they still haven't patched it, and they're probably never going to patch it, but it makes multiplayer so hard. It's like,
dude, I think
it's crazy.
That was like an issue in Elden Ring at one point. Like, if you tried to like riposte or like assassinate somebody, and your like co-op partner does the same thing, like one of you dies. I forgot which game was that I was playing that was happening. It might have been Elden Ring. I don't know, but it was like mess. you would hit the same enemy with the same thing, and like one of you would like either take damage or die. I don't remember what game it was. It was wild.
Yeah, I've got no idea, but I'm just saying, dude, there's multiple Nintendo releases over the years that have had issues, and there's just been jack done to it. And it's like, because, I mean, to be fair, it just depends on the developer. Like, that case, the port was done by Forever Entertainment. They just took the 3DS one, and they probably just, didn't have access to the Wii one, or didn't want to go through the effort to pull the Wii one in for such a small thing. I mean, I get it, but also it's like, really? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to chipping away more at Xenoblade. And I mean, yeah, we got an exciting week. I will say, I do want to talk about one more thing before we head off, because I do want to talk about Assassin's Creed. Yeah. So Assassin's Creed Shadows came out. I did not review the game, but I have been talking to numerous people who reviewed the game here and there, and creators, this and that, over the last couple of weeks. Everyone has just had tons of just outpouring of great things to talk about this game, right? And the reviews, I think it got like an 83 or whatever on Metacritic, which again doesn't hold much weight, but most of the reviews themselves were pretty positive, which is a good thing. So I find it really funny that people on Twitter are complaining that it's not historically accurate. And I sat back and I'm like, when has Assassin's Creed ever been historically accurate? Like, I'm genuinely asking.
Nobody wants to have this conversation, by the way. They ignore it as soon as anybody brings it up. Like, when has Assassin's Creed ever been historically accurate? It's a ridiculous franchise with ridiculous concepts. If it was just historically accurate 100% of the time, it would be incredibly boring. Like, look at Origins,
no, bro. No, bro.
With like the gods in it. Like, were there actual gods like in Egypt?
No, like you don't understand. Around? In back in the day, like they were flying around like Ezio, flying around everywhere. Like, come on.
Yeah, they were flying and doing flips into. That's the simple part, right? Like, they were just doing flips. They were in this Abstergo, and they were like, they were going through the DNA of their ancestors to do something really stupid.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, like if you don't have any interest in that game, great. I mean, I'll be honest, like, I definitely am probably gonna try it, but like I'm not gonna. It's not a game I'm paying full price for. Like I'm gonna probably wait until it's on sale.
Right.
But I'm sitting here like, dude, I think that's so crazy to be like complaining about it's not historically accurate. Like that's the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard. Like especially for a series like Assassin's Creed. Like when is being historically accurate matter? It's the same people that are crying about Christopher Nolan's costume
Oh,
choice for the
dude, yeah.
Odyssey. It's like it's not historically accurate. I'm sitting here like, dude, it's a retelling with with the director's vision. Like, boo hoo, man. If you don't like it, don't go watch it. It's the same thing with Assassin's Creed. You don't like it, don't buy it. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying one way or the other is right. My point simply is I think it's crazy to complain about not being historically accurate when that has never been something that has been 100% faithful forever in the franchise. That's never been a thing
Yeah,
before.
they've never done that. It's never been a thing.
But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting times in the video game world as always, but you can count on us to have a conversation about it and throw some jokes here and there and hopefully be entertaining. But with that, that's going to do it for this episode of Weaponized. Be sure to leave a comment down below. Let us know what you've been playing recently, what you're looking forward to coming up in April, and we will catch you next time. Thank you so much for listening.